The weekend is slow. Her parents are called away to Las Vegas for an Associated League of Heroes meeting Saturday, and they expect it will run late. Jess is supposed to be watching Brendan. She wastes time flicking through the net and idling through her homework, listening for any explosions from his room. It's not until Jess looks up and notices that the sky outside her window is dark that everything seems to catch up to her, especially that sharp, aching hunger that comes from forgetting to eat. Brendan must be hungry too. Lunch was so long ago. Ugh, it's almost 8 o'clock. She sighs and goes to Brendan's room. Hey, what do you want to do for food? There's some frozen dumplings I can make, or some leftover rice from lunch that I can fry with eggs. Wearing a pair of safety goggles on his head, Brendan opens the door. He scrunches his face. Mum and Dad leave you any credits? For an emergency, Jess says, rolling her eyes. There's plenty of food in the house. Brendan raises his eyebrows. What about Belle's restaurant? I like the food there. Jess's stomach grumbles. Creole food does sound amazing right now. She hasn't eaten since lunch and was too focused on her research to snack. It's a great idea and wouldn't cost too much. Belle's is on shift today, and the Broussards love her, and seeing Brendan flail over Belle's is always entertaining. Jess conjures up that image and snickers. Okay. Do you need like an hour to change? 2 spots of colour appear high on Brendan's cheeks. What? No, I'm ready, just... Grumbling, he closes the door, and Jess laughs to herself. She flicks through her notifications on her DED until the door opens again. Brendan has changed into a clean t-shirt and jeans, and there's some gunk in his hair. It takes a moment for Jess to realise it's a temporary hair product, and there are clunky red streaks in his hair. She grins, but doesn't say anything. The minivan takes forever to boot up as usual, and it also tells them, "You have arrived at your destination," when they're still 2 blocks away from the Broussard family restaurant. Jess and Brendan get out of the car and walk. It's not as bad as the time the car almost took them to Las Vegas when they wanted to go to the Andover Mall. The Broussard's restaurant, home away from home, is in a historical building, Art Deco, reminiscent of 21st century roadside diner architecture. The inside, however, is a riot of warm, friendly colour, lush oranges and reds, a nod to the Broussard family's roots in Louisiana before they moved west after the disasters. Jess's stomach grumbles as a waitress passes by carrying a steaming plate of jambalaya. The rich aroma of the spices wafts decadently. Brendan pulls her to a table in Belle's section, and it isn't long before Belle's appears, with his bright hair, blue and orange today, tied neatly in a little ponytail at the back, and wearing an apron over his tank top and jeans. Hey, Jess says. Little bro was hungry, thought we'd come by and say hi. Of course, Belle says with a wink. Brendan makes a high-pitched noise that could be a greeting. I like your hair, dude, Belle says at Brendan, and then flicks off the holo projector on the table. The usual? Yes, please, Jess says in the wake of Brendan's stunned stupor. She and Belle share amused looks, and Belle's heads off, chuckling to himself. Shut up, Brendan mutters. Didn't say anything. Their food arrives quickly. The jambalaya is special for Jess, and red beans and rice topped with a heap of green onions for Brendan. Belle comes back with a generous chunk of cornbread for them to share, and sits down, knocking Jess's shoulder companionably before he has to get up and fetch things for other tables. Jess savours the way the textures and flavours come together on her tongue, the crunch of the green peppers and the vibrant flavour of the soft rice contrasting with the eggplant and zucchini. She drinks a sip of water and dives back in for more of the delicious spicy dish. The Broussards have their own way of spicing the protein that makes their sausage, and it tastes good, almost passes for meat. The vegetables are fresh and delicious, and Jess settles back in her seat with a happy sigh. She waves at the open window to the kitchen, where she can see Belle's older brother Simon working at the grill, and he gives her a jaunty wave. "How's everything tasting?" Simon calls. "Delicious, as always," Jess says back. "Homegrown and organic. Can't go wrong with that," Simon says, waving a pair of tongs at her. The Broussards have their own greenhouse, where they grow all their produce despite the collective guarantee that crops are stable and will continue to be stable. Belle's great-grandparents survived the disasters because a combination of paranoia and self-sufficiency led them to stockpile supplies. They're still quite suspicious about the government. Belle's and his siblings think that their dad's rants about privacy and government meddling in farm management are silly, but they work the greenhouse and the restaurant anyway. "I like having fresh vegetables," Belle said the first time Jess asked about it. "I don't believe in all the theories my dad has about the government, but everybody's got to have a hobby, right?" And all of Andover adores the Broussards' hobby. Home Away from Home has been a beloved restaurant for years, and was even featured in a News Hollow feature in a new bright city. Brendan polishes off his dish with a happy sigh, stuffs a chunk of cornbread in his mouth, and mumbles something about winning prizes before he ambles over to the crane game machine in the corner. Jess watches him as he keeps swiping his DED for attempt after attempt at winning a stuffed animal. The dinner rush is over, but they're the only ones left in the restaurant. Jess sits down next to her, chuckling. "You want to tell him that machine hasn't given up a prize for anyone in 10 years? Jess leans back. "Nah." She pokes Belle's shoulder playfully, surprised at the firmness of the muscle. "You been working out?" "Huh?" "Yeah, my brother was complaining that he didn't have anyone to do weights with." Belle shrugs. Something else is different too. Something that Jess can't quite place. His tank top is well fitted, stretched over his chest. "Oh, dude," Jess says, nudging him with her hip. "It's really late. You've been wearing your binder all day? Feeling okay?" Bells blinks. "Oh, yeah, I'm good. Took a break after school." He steals a bite of cornbread, talking as he chews. "Hey, first day of your new job is tomorrow, right? Downtown?" "Not really a nice area. Are you driving?" "Bus from school and then walking," Jess says. "Monroe Industries is in the industrial part. It's not that bad, really." Bells furrows his eyebrows. "Don't worry," Jess says. "It'll be fine." Monday after school, Jess takes the school bus to Old Andover, and transfers to a city bus. Bells gives her a new canister of pepper spray, just in case. It might be overkill, especially with her dad flying around looking for any excuse to help anyone, but she takes it. The bus is crowded, but Jess manages to get a seat next to a window. The glass pane vibrates as she leans against it, and the bus rumbles as it moves through the colourful streets of Andover. From an advertisement on a wall for Eversparkle teeth whitening, Captain Orion's gleaming smile beams at the bus riders. A video projection at the front of the bus shows a news hollow from New Bright City. Apparently the Heroes League has had another success. They found a villain's guild base and destroyed it. When Jess transfers to go downtown, the new bus is so crowded with people on their way home from work, she has to stand. Everyone is in business attire, and looking pointedly at their DEDs, or talking to each other about things like stocks and portfolios and quarterly returns. Jess is painfully aware of how young she is. Her shirt sleeves didn't quite extend to her wrists after a growth spurt last summer. Her debate clothes don't fit as well as she thought. She feels as if she's playing dress-up. Jess sways as the bus turns and almost misses her stop. She jerks to attention when she sees the Monroe building at the end of the block. She holds the straps of her backpack so it doesn't bounce as she strides quickly. She's going to need to reschedule with Em in the future if taking the bus from school is going to take this long. A bunch of people loiter about the street. Some of them look unsavory. It's not that this area is bad, but downtown is where a lot of people end up. Even though World War III was long ago, there are always conflicts abroad that involve the collective. Jess doesn't know too much, except that there are always veterans on the streets without many resources. There are a lot of drugs moving in this area too, but no one ever talks about that. Jess is almost there when she's taken aback by a headful of long, flowing, red-gold curls next to her, almost the colour of Abby's hair, but too bright to be realistic. The woman walking alongside her is incredibly tall, with a long, aquiline nose, and wearing a sleek green dress. She smiles at Jess and slows her pace to match Jess's own, and Jess nods, somewhat reassured by the kindness. "There's a man following you," the woman says, and Jess starts. "Oh. I can walk with you. Where are you going?" "Just to the end of the block," Jess says. They fall into stride. The woman is imposing and familiar, but she can't place how. Jess is struck by her blue eyes, a crystal colour that she didn't think was possible. At the Monroe building, Jess nods at the woman. "Thank you." The woman nods back, smiles, and strides down the street, her striking copper curls bouncing. Jess watches her, and then kicks herself for not asking whether her hair was natural or dyed. That was the kind of thing Bells would appreciate. She shakes herself and straightens her shirt collar and turns to face the towering height of the office building. It stretches to the sky, large and imposing, shining in the afternoon sun. On the top floor, Jess can make out the huge letters spelling out Monroe. Shadows bustle about, and she can see the whizzing of elevators through the glass walls as people go about their business.